Hi friends, today for math we're going to keep practicing telling time, but today we're going to learn about a new time to tell. Last week we practiced telling time to the hour, that's when we said o'clock for all of the times that we practiced, and we practiced telling times to the half hour, that's when we said 30 for all of the times, and then we mixed those two together. Today we're going to learn a new one, and tomorrow the challenge is going to be mixing all of the different times together. Today when we look at our digital clock, you're going to see a new number in the minute place. We've practiced this saying 00, that was the o'clock hour. We've practiced this with a 30, that was our half hour. And today, we're going to talk about time to the quarter hour. So all of the times that you're going to see today are going to have this number in the minute spot. Go ahead and say this number out loud. Very good. This is the number 15. Let me show you a few examples and then I'll have you try a few of reading this digital time. If I saw this time on the digital clock, I would read this as 3:15. If I saw this time on the digital clock, I would read this as 8:15. And if I saw this time on the digital clock, I would read this as 1:15. Now it's your turn. I'm going to write a time on the digital clock and I want you to read it out loud. What is this time on the digital clock? Go ahead and say it out loud. Excellent. This is the time, 11:15. Let's try another one together. What is this time on the digital clock? Go ahead and read it out loud. Very good. This is the time, 7:15. Now let's practice reading this time on the analog clock. The analog clock is a little bit trickier, so it's important for us to practice both of these. Today, again, you're going to be matching digital to analog, so we're going to practice both. Before we start reading some times on our analog clock, we need to find where the minute hand is going to go. We practiced it pointing to the 0, that was o'clock, and we practiced it pointing to the 6, that was our 30 times. Today we're looking for the one that says 15. So to find that, we're going to start at the 12, and we're going to count by 5s until we hear 15. Because remember, the purple numbers here aren't usually on a regular clock. So we need to count by 5s to figure out which number my hand should be pointing to. Let's start here with 0. 0, 5, 10, 15. So today our minute hand is always going to be pointed to the 3, which we know is a pretend 15. It won't always say this 15 here. It will usually have a 3. So today we're going to practice with the minute hand pointing to the 3. Just like we did for the other times, we want to read the red hand, the shorter hand, the hour hand first, and then we'll read the 3, which we know is really 15, the minute hand second. Let me show you a few examples and then you can try some on your own. If I were to read this time on the analog clock, I would read this as 1:15. If I were to read this time on the analog clock, this is kind of tricky, I would read this as 3:15. If I wanted to read this time on the analog clock, I would read this as 7:15. Now you try one. What would this time be on the analog clock? Use your eyes to draw that imaginary line. Which one is it closest to? Excellent. This time would be 10:15. Let's try a couple more. What is this time on the analog clock? Very good. This time would be 12:15. Let's do one more just to be sure that we got it. What is this time on the analog clock? Fantastic. This time is 5:15. For today's activity, you're going to be matching digital clocks to analog clocks. For today, they're all going to have that 15 at the end. So make sure that you pay attention. The minute hand should always be pointing to the 3.